my life.
My San Diego home, family room, scary scratching sounds at the French doors. This is one of the most scariest moments in my San Diego home. This happened during the summer months. It was around 9 at night. I was holding my son, and he was uncomfortable because the living room was quite warm, so I decided to take him outside to cool down. I held my son outside, walking him around in the dark. He was calming down, but it did not seem enough. He began to cry more, and the behavior was kind of odd, so I brought him back inside. While sitting down, I noticed some scratches on his left leg. He had at least one about 2 inches long, needle-like, breaking skin and slightly bleeding. The other one is much smaller and was not bleeding, but the skin is a bit red. At first, I thought, did he do this before going outside? I was holding him and don't recall such scratches on his legs. I know that my son's nails are sharp, and maybe he scratched himself, but in a peculiar pattern, like this. I would have noticed, if the scratches were already there. They were large enough and could not be missed. I wasn't quite sure until what happened later. But at this point, I just wasn't sure what happened. I've seen these kind of scratches before, and it is of paranormal nature. Still unsure, I just downplayed the gravity of the situation, and continued seeking logic to understand what had happened. But as I was thinking this, I heard a distinct scratching sound, coming from the bottom window on the opened French door. This cannot be the sound of the house cooling down. Usually, that door creaks, but not scratching noises like this. This seemed more paranormal than natural. I could barely speak words, but I quickly prayed to God for heaven's angels to protect me and my son. After the prayer, I could imagine angels coming right beside me, on both my left and right sides, sandwiching me in between. I listened to the scratching sounds. It scratched in a pattern like this. 3 quick scratches, pause for a few seconds, then it repeat again. The next time the scratching sound appeared again, I mustered up some courage and went right up to the door to investigate. Now, I was still holding my son, but he had calmed down, and I felt I had to do this. I can hear the scratching is coming from the window in the door. It sounded like a metal nail swiping across the window. I listened to one side of the door and then the other side. The noise is still coming from there. I even tried to debunk this. We have bamboo blinds on the window and I tried moving them to see if they would make this sound. No sound like this at all. The blinds were definitely not moving. So I scoot back a bit into the room and noticed the scratching sound suddenly moved to the other French door. I stuck my head peeking out the door, to see if there was something outside, but it seems the sound is muffled. Now, thinking about this as I tell my story, this may have meant that the scratching is coming from the inside of the door, and not the outside. Which could mean that the entity is scratching the window from inside the home. It just didn't cross my mind at that moment. After a quick moment of clueless, I thought screw this, so I just slammed the door shut. Afterwards, I told my wife about this, and of course she didn't believe me, but I showed her my son's leg to corroborate my story. That convinced her a bit as my son's nails were already cut. This was one of the scariest moments, because my son was attacked, and I could not do anything to protect him. On top of that, this led me on a path to the inexplicable scratching phenomena. I do recall a day later, the same scratching sound appeared again at the door, but this time the door was closed. I was about 10 feet away, and I could hear it again. I know that removing attention will take the power away from the entity, so I just totally ignored the scratching. And after a couple scratches, I did not hear it anymore. To this day, nothing like this happened again.